We are back with the Buffalonian podcast. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. And Dom, it's holiday week, big week, Hanukkah, Christmas, all that jazz. Happy holidays to anybody out there listening or watching on YouTube. We appreciate you tuning in on this busy week. I mean, I don't know about you. I got my shopping done pretty early, so it's not as busy as it normally is for me, but I don't know. Where are you at on the holiday shopping? Are you going to go like tomorrow and grab the last couple things? Because that's psycho behavior if that's true.
No, I'm like 90-80% done.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit up the gym after this, and then probably there's a couple stores that I'm probably gonna hit up and breeze. But yeah, I got most of it. I just have to wrap my stuff, which I'm gonna have to look up the same YouTube video I do every year to make sure I can wrap my gifts properly, and it'll still look pretty bad, but it will be wrapped.
Yep. I mean, the
The
effort's
thought
all
that
that
counts.
counts. Yeah, it's the thought, it's the effort. So you still have a little bit left to do. I got mine done. I mean, I have Morgan who kind of forces me to do it early now. So like, I can't really procrastinate. But what are you going to do? So the Bills, I mean, kept it interesting begrudgingly against the Cleveland Browns. I mean, we're going to get into that. They play the Eagles this week, so it's going to be interesting. It's a quick week. That game's going to come like this with the holiday this week. So, but before that, I think we kind of gratuitously have to continue to do the pods this way until things go south. The Sabres are on a 6-game win streak, and they're going into Ottawa tonight looking to make it 7. Since Jarmo Kekalainen's come in, they have not lost. And Lindy Ruff, this team looks like they're possessed, right? The first period might not be great. What do? They're like the Bills. They make adjustments. It's kind of insane to watch for the Sabres organization. And Josh Norris is a guy. Like, why is it exciting to kind of talk about this team again, where in years past they've just been, I don't know, an abyss, a black hole of nothingness at this point? They're playing meaningful games in December. Like, we're almost to Jason Botterill of playing meaningful games in March. Like, we're at Christmas and they're not eliminated yet, Dom. Like, this is kind of insane.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun to win. It's fun to see them play. It's fun to see players develop. I also think the organization gets rid of, as you said, the last pod, the Wicked Witch of the
Wicked
West,
Witch of the
Kevin
West,
Adams.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with Yarmo coming in, also, and Mark Bergeron, who had a good run in Montreal, who had a very similar job in Los Angeles, is coming, and that's a lateral move. And it's like he's also bringing some real life palm trees. He's cutting some down and bringing them via plane.
Yeah, put some Christmas lights on them, right?
Yeah. Josh Flynn, who was one of Yarmo's guys, and Columbus is coming. I don't know. It's one of those situations where obviously Camaros gets let go as well, the former assistant general manager and general manager of the Amherst. But it just feels like a breath of fresh air that there's competent people in the organization, experience in the organization. Because, as we said, like GMing is not just about acquiring players. It's all about like the back rooms of how do you deal with a player who's struggling? Mm-hmm. How do you know when the right time to call up a player or a prospect? How do you know when it's the right time to send down a player, waive a player?
You're involved in the coaches' meetings, all of that stuff.
Or make a trade. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like now you have like Jarmo, who was a GM for almost a decade. Bergeron was GM for almost a decade. Like, that's 20 years of experience.
Right.
When Kevin Adams signed to be the general manager, they had none.
No, zero.
So I think that's why.
Yeah. And listen, it's nice also they're bringing in people we've heard of before that have an actual like track record, like you said, experience. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to kind of recognize names being brought into the organization, not being like, who's this guy? Like, is he just, a buddy from college, the dorm rooms or something like that? What's going on here? But no, it's an exciting time to be a Sabres fan. I say that now, and then they could go on like a 4-game, 5-game slide, but knocking on wood, that doesn't occur. They play Ottawa tonight, like I said. It's the first matchup where Dylan Cousins and Josh Norris will be in the lineup against each other, right? Because of the whole face-off fiasco earlier this year. Dylan Cousins not looking good. It looks like the Sabres absolutely have won that trade by a million.
I don't know. I think he's been playing. I mean, he's been all right. I think he's been really good on the PP. He's been driving the play. He's had some unlucky results. But yeah, I don't know. I think, again, knock on wood with his health, but I think we have kind of underestimated, at least I definitely have, Josh Norris's ability to impact the game, not only in 5-on-5, but on the power play. Like, the power play looks a lot better
Yeah, it
when you have
does.
another threat out there opposite Tage Thompson. So I think that's been massive for the Bills. The Bills, Jesus, Sabres special
I know
teams.
we're used to starting with the
I
Bills, so
know
it's
the
just
Sabres special teams, and also like 5-on-5. Like he's had some really good chemistry with Osland. Benson has been on that line for a little bit. Sometimes don't. Like
mhm.
it's also about depth, right? We always talked about Tage, Tuck, Skinner used to be the top line, then it used to be like that kids line, but I kind of would fall off. Now it feels like to me, you have Tage's line, you have like a Tuck line, you have a Norris line. It just feels like there's so much more depth to their scoring this year.
Yeah.
And they're just playing really smart hockey. I think Lindy has them playing hard. And I don't know, it's fun to care about the result. Like just a couple weeks ago, like you would turn on the game and they would blow the game and be like, "Oh, it's so annoying."
Yeah.
Like I remember the Islanders game. They give up that goal and it's like soul crushing. It's like, oh my god, like
Mhm.
we had 2 points, and then they clutch up in the shootout. But I was like, oh my god, we're gonna blow this and lose a point. And then they learned from their mistakes and were able to take out New Jersey for most of the third period, protecting the 1-goal lead. So
Yeah.
it's good to see.
It is good to see, and like you said, they were basically losing games in the last like 3 minutes of the third period. I mean, McDavid slides in at 2 seconds and brings the thing to OT, right? So like it's just gross, like how they were losing games because they were in it. They also like would hold on to a lead and then just totally give it up in the last couple seconds. So it's a good place to be. KeyBank Center's been rocking since the change. I was there, you were there, we were both there in different capacities in the first game. And for a weeknight, it was pretty full, right? So, like, I think there's a lot of people who want to be excited about this team, but didn't really have a reason to. It's unbelievable the fact that one small change can bring so much, not small. I mean, it's the general manager, let's be honest, but like the one change in the front office, not even your direct on ice product, totally just revamped this entire fan base. And it's like you said, a breath of fresh air. So we'll see if that continues. We'll see if the Sabres are able to string together some more wins. I mean, maybe we'll get back to that 10-game win streak from back in the day, and then we don't have to say how many years ago that was. We can say it was a recent feat. So see what these guys are able to pull together.
I will say it's interesting that the holidays coming up. Like the roster freeze is in place, so I'm interested to see. Once that gets lifted, I think it's the 29th. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just interested to see like have the Bills. Gosh darn it,
Yeah,
strike
that's
two.
yeah.
But
Two
have the
shots of eggnog
Sabres.
for anyone listening.
Has Yarmo made a decision on the third goaltender? Zucker, who's on IR, is
Mm-hmm.
they think might come back after the holidays. So they had to make a decision on a roster spot there,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, who do you take out? Because like they took out Greenway for load management reasons. Against New Jersey, like I don't know who they would take out, but I'm very interested to see the third goaltender. Like I know Ellis is on IR, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know there was thoughts that Line could be the one that was moved, but then he's playing well.
Yeah, he's
UPL,
he's lit it up.
I mean, UPL may have a market, but he played well, and like Ellis really hasn't. He's banged up, but then there's a report that Yarmo likes him, so it's I don't know.
Yeah.
It still feels pretty messy.
We're all over the place. We're all over the place on the three goaltender situation because, I mean, it's like we used to say with UPL before he got his contract extension, a little too early, in my opinion, how hot and cold he was. He had one consistent season, and then you threw the money at him, and now he's back to his ways of just being hot and cold. So we'll see what happens with the three goalie rotation if the Sabres are able to string a win going into the holiday. Ottawa, they're on a 4-game win streak, so they have something to play for as well. Keep a streak alive. So we got a clash going on tonight. You'll see this tomorrow, so we're going to be talking about this in hindsight, of course. But yeah, so the Sabres, exciting. I don't know. Anything else you want to add here before we jump into the Bills, that little bit of a nauseating win over the Browns and anything like that?
I will say this: Kesselring has really struggled, and you had to give him some grace, I think, because he missed a lot of time, and he's missed pretty much all of training camp, and he's trying to get some chemistry. But this is kind of another example of a guy that had, Labushkin was another example of a defenseman that has really good defensive metrics outside of Buffalo, and then for every reason comes to Buffalo and forgets how to play defense. It's just a little bit concerning, especially if Timmons going down. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. The thought process, the rumor that they might trade like a Byram or Power for a Ford. I don't know if they have the luxury to really do that with Timmins out and Kesselring struggling. So that is something to look at, is if he can get a little bit more comfortable in these next couple of games.
Yeah, you're right. We shall see. We'll talk more about the Sabres next week following the holiday. We got a little bit of a conglomerate episode for you here today. We're going to take a quick time out. We're going to be back on the other side with some Bills-Browns recap, the quick Dom 5, looking to the Eagles game, and maybe a quick commentary on the playoff picture because things got a little more solid, if you will. We'll be right back with more of the Buffalonian podcast right after this. Welcome back to the Buffalonian podcast. We just talked Sabres. Going to keep that good juju going as we have the past couple weeks. Hopefully, it lasts a little longer than the Buffalo Pepsi thing, but I'm glad that ended when it did because of stomach issues rooted from that, mixing that every week and chugging that down. But we're glad that's what we're not even gonna look back on Buffalo Pepsi because I think that was just a fever dream in itself. But the Bills are able to squeak by the Cleveland Browns 23-20, a little closer than anyone anticipated, both you and myself predicting multiple score wins on betting on the Bills last Friday. So things did not go according to plan, but the Bills able to get it done. And this just in, Dawson Drops makes his return after all the praise we've given him the past couple weeks. I feel like, Dom, and you might, you texted a couple weeks ago when McDermott was having that rough first half with the challenge against New England and all of that, the lack thereof, I should say, that, all that praise we gave him is kind of out the window. I mean, I've been all on Dawson Knox the past couple weeks, and he's been really proving it. And then all of a sudden this week, Dawson Drops, rears his ugly face, and it's all of a sudden. And here's how I thought about it. You let me know what you were thinking in this moment. Dawson Drops happens, right? Browns get the ball. It's close. They were able to move. They were able to run on you. Could they have gone down and scored or tied it up? Sure, whatever. Say they did. Myles Garrett's going to break the sack record and ice the game on the ensuing drive. I thought as soon as Dawson Knox dropped the ball in the end zone, it was just written in the stars that was going to end up happening. But the Bills defense comes up strong, able to make a stop, and Greg Rousseau has a phenomenal performance in the second half. I don't know how much stock you want to take in that, being that Shedeur Sanders hangs on to the football like it's cemented to his hands, but
I think you take a lot of stock in he got pressure pretty quickly. It's not like he was holding the ball that long, especially on a couple of those plays. So, I don't know. I think it was an interesting game.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, we can get right into the Dom 5, though, for the recap, and then we'll look to the Eagles game. What's number one? What are we looking at here?
Number one, I think this is the number one takeaway is just, as you said, Groot. With a lot of O's, a lot of T's, and a lot of exclamation points. I mean, he really came to play, and while I think we both have started to get to the point of being disappointed, with him, he really showed up, and listen,
he did the opposite of Dawson Knox.
Yeah, I mean, we know he's an A+ run defender. I think PFF has him as graded as the best edge run defender in the league, and he's a solid pass rusher, but this was it felt like the first game in a while since he just absolutely took over. Like, I remember the Cardinals game in week 1 when he had the forced fumble of Kyler and all that. And he had 3 sacks. This game, 2.5 sacks, the 9 pressures, 32% pressure rate, which is the highest of the season, coming through on that 4th down. Should have probably, I don't know, they don't credit the sack on the intentional grounding, but another big play. So it just felt like he was in the backfield all day. Obviously, he almost had another sack because he got Sanders was able to shake him. So he almost is very close to about, I think he had 5 sacks going into the game, maybe.
He almost had his
very close to getting
total.
4 matches, doubling his stuff. All of a sudden, we're gonna end of the season. He's gonna be a 10 sack guy, and we're gonna be like, okay.
Yeah. What happened? Let's look at the stat sheet. Oh, 1 game, and then he did his entire season total up to that point. Yeah. No, I was very excited to see it. Like you said, you and I were at the point of getting a little frustrated and disappointed in his production because, like we've said, he's been an elite run defender. Like you said, PFF has him up there too, but you do want to see him be able to get to the passer a little bit, and he was able to. So, and Shedeur Sanders is a little bit of a shifty target. We saw a lot of upside potential in his play against the Bills. So we'll see where he goes from here. But a lot of the national noise, I don't really get on him. I think that's a lot of just hate to hate. I'm not gonna lie to you, but Greg Rousseau, absolutely agree with you. Groot with a bunch of O's, totally number one. What's number two?
Number two, do the Bills game plan on defense
Or do they just
during
fly
the week?
blind and see what happens and then make adjustments? You think?
Like, I don't know. I just feel like the Bills, I feel like on defense, just kind of let teams dominate on scripted plays. And then they've really been, over the course of the last month or two, like the best second half defense in the league.
Yeah.
And you saw it again. This week. It's frustrating because I think anyone could have told you, this is a team, the Browns, that don't have a vertical passing game, kind of like the Bills, and dump it off. And the Bills just allowed them to do that and allowed them to get a lot of hidden yards. It was a little frustrating tackling performance.
Yeah.
The Bills didn't, I don't know, the rushing yards looked bad. A lot of that, I think, was Shadur scrambling. They had a couple of those weird end arounds. Obviously the one big Judkins run gets taken back because of holding, but that was a legit hold. So
that was.
I don't know. Like they did a fine job against the running backs, but always feels like it's the tale of two halves for this defense.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because I feel like if they came out and were a little bit more intentional of how they were going to play the game, that they could have got some serious momentum, but they let the Browns. And listen, credit to the Browns. Like they had a good plan going in. They drove down and scored, but it was like, okay, now we're down 7-0. And
early. Yeah.
It's just annoying. And then, the defense going into, I think, number 3 is just the missed opportunities on both sides of the ball. Really, actually, all 3 phases, if we're going to be honest. Like, Badgley misses the PAT, kicks the ball short of the 20-yard landing zone. Defensively, just the tackling at times, allowing them to take checkdowns for explosives. You have Matt Milano trip a guy on literally 3rd and 15 or whatever it was, that gives them a touchdown drive. So, I think some of that stuff is fluke. And then offensively, oh my God, it's just so frustrating, with the drops, man. Like,
Brandon Cooks might be allergic to catching a football in a Bills uniform, it seems like, because that's multiple weeks now that's happened.
You look at the production in, the running game was solid. They kind of got used to the run game, I felt like, in the second half, and maybe they should have pivoted running a little bit more at Myles Garrett, maybe not. But the passing game, 12 of 19, 130 yards, and you look at it and it's like, other than the one throwaway, I mean, you have, a couple big misses from Josh. Mr. Shavers open on the 4th down. The Shakir one, the play before that, is a touchdown if he hits him in stride. And then,
wasn't there a Kincaid miss too, or am I thinking of a different game?
Well, that wasn't. I don't know. That one was like a shit. It was a great throw, and it was a good effort by Kincaid. It was just really good coverage, and was it a catch? Was it not a catch? I don't know.
Well, just think, if his foot's flipped the other direction, it's a catch. But because it's flipped down, it's not.
It's frustrating because you look at the missed opportunity again. Cooks drops an explosive. Cook, who was awesome, like he drops the ball that probably would have went for a first down. Obviously, Knox drops a touchdown, and it's a 10-point win. So it's just one of those games where you look back, and when you examine the game, you're kind of like, how is this a 23-20 game? Like, the Bills should have won this game by 20 plus. It should have been what we predicted, and it wasn't, because the Bills made a lot of just crucial mistakes.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Mall Cop? The movie with Kevin James. Have you ever seen Mall Cop?
Yes. Paul Blart?
Remember? Yeah, Paul Blart, yes. At the end, when he throws the hot sauce into Vec's eye and he just stands there, and he's like, probably should have capitalized on that. That's the Buffalo Bills. Like, that legitimately is. They don't capitalize when they can, right? And like this game wasn't really the second half offensive explosion like the past couple games have had. I mean, the offense was actually, the run game, like you said, they leaned into it. But it was a pretty even game, I would say. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't really it wasn't so lopsided in the fact of like just going out in a complete shutout and then having to come all the way back. It was a little better in that facet, but you're right. These misses, I mean, that's not going to get you to a championship. That's going to be exploited by better teams than the Browns, big time. You know, they're gonna be able to capitalize on you in those situations where
Yeah.
you get that's just gotta. If Brandon Cooks, I mean, run the risk, put the sticky tack on there, see what happens, because he's bobbling it every time he gets the ball thrown in his direction, and they would be great catches. Like he would maybe even have room to run, not in the Browns one, but the one against the Patriots, right? Like
Yeah.
that could have broken for a tutty with his speed. So I don't know. They just got to button that up, but I agree. I'm with you on that. What's number 4?
It just fresh. Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at the offense too. Like they start the game with 3 straight touchdown drives.
Yeah. It
And
was kind of
then,
an opposite game from the offense than it was.
yeah, and then the next 6 drives they get only 50 yards, and again, just in those plays, it's the drop to Cook, the near miss to Kincaid, the drop touchdown from Knox, the big play from Cooks, and also like in that is Josh on 2nd and 1. You know, you get 9 yards to start the 4th drive, and he just takes like a 20-yard sack, and it's like,
Yeah.
dude, like.
Do you think that was I see Myles Garrett coming at me and I don't want him to get the sack record on me, because that
God,
I feel
no.
like I feel like you just turtle up at that point. You know what I mean? Like he should have just gone
threw the
down.
ball away. He just needed to throw the ball away and live another down.
Yeah,
it was just
that
bad.
or take it. I mean, at that point, you're running backwards into the end zone. I mean, that's not good for business by any means. He's lucky he kept the ball out, but
Yeah.
what
But
are you gonna
number
do?
4, I feel like roster decisions
Yeah.
are not ideal, and they're not playing out the way that the Bills hope. Like, just look at the wide receiver room. Like Keon benched, Gabe Davis benched. It's like, okay. Like, I think I'm okay with Keon. I think Gabe needs to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Josh trusts Gabe, right? And I think it's as simple as that. I don't know who comes out. Like, to me, like, I don't know. I'll say this, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but like Brandon Cooks is a guy that like I don't really need him to come out. I just need him to catch the damn ball. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm with you on that.
he's
Just
one of the few
make a
guys that have
catch.
like gotten separation downfield. Like, I don't know if you want to like, do I really want that out of my lineup? Probably not. I mean, he has to come down with the ball, but you know, I think Gabe does need to come in. I don't know the whole Hardman thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he looked terrible on the punt return, and then when the game's on the line, then the Browns are punting with 2 minutes left. Who's out there? It's Shakir. So they obviously clearly don't trust him.
Yeah,
So,
McDermott commented on that specifically, mentioning that just they wanted to. It was a PR answer, I think. I agree with you. I think they didn't trust
it was
him after the first
he's
one.
right though. I mean, it's a safer option than
Yeah.
Hardman. They obviously don't trust him. So it's like, why is he getting jersey at that point? I know the punt return, you know, we've talked about the last couple of weeks, has been awful. So it just he didn't get that spark, and he only had one opportunity. And maybe you're like, okay, let's give him another try. But I probably would rather have Gabe Davis. I think this defensive line, like, I like that TJ Sanders is back. You know, maybe Judon comes up this week from the practice squad and takes Andre Jones' spot, and he's the edge. It just confuses me that Javon Solomon doesn't play any defense anymore.
Yeah, right.
He's strictly a special teams player, but Andre Jones also, I thought, played some special teams. So it's like, do I really need to give Javon Solomon a jersey? Like, I don't know. Fly Mathis is fine, but it's like, he's not good. And nor is Ogunjobi. But I feel like you get a little bit more from Ogunjobi. So it's like,
you have a little bit more of a ceiling with Ogunjobi.
I'd just rather have Ogunjobi and then Mathis. But if you're gonna have Mathis up, like, I'd rather just not have Solomon. Like, I guess to me
the roster's a mess.
It just makes the most sense to me, I guess, to have Judon come up, be the 4th edge. I guess you could still have Solomon active because then he'll actually get special teams. You know, the Andre Jones playing special teams, or Judon in this case playing special teams. But then Ogunjobi should just play over Mathis. Like, Sanders was solid. Like, TJ Sanders was all right. He's looked like he's learning, which is a good sign.
He's looking like your average rookie just learning how to play in the NFL. Deion Walker, though, I mean,
he's had his ups and downs.
He's had his ups and downs, but his ups are up. Like, that's
he's
where I've gotten.
He's a very up and down player too. So
yeah,
I just think the roster management needs to be tightened up. And then number 5 for the Dom 5, I just think everyone needs to take a deep breath in and out. You know, like, I'm as frustrated as everyone else. I predicted the Bills that they were going to hammer the Browns. It didn't happen. It's frustrating that you could count multiple times now of the Bills go on the road and they play a team that's inferior to them and they let them stick around or win the game, like Miami or Atlanta. And now here, like, it is frustrating. I don't really have a good reason for it. They just don't start very fast. And I guess that to me is the biggest fatal flaw I see, because the Bills are going to be on the road for the playoffs. Like, I just don't see.
No, New England's not dropping. They're playing Quinn Ewers. Like, Miami's playing Quinn Ewers. They're not playing Zach Wilson.
And Brady Cook. Like, I don't see it. So,
yeah.
I think we have to be realistic. I just think, to me, deep breath in, deep breath out.
Yeah.
They got the win. There's a lot they need to improve upon, and a lot that I don't think could be fixed in 2 weeks, personally.
No, I think you got to kind of ride or die with it. Like, that's kind of where you're at.
Listen, at the end of the day, this is the team we're going to have. It's a team that is capable of winning the Super Bowl. It is not one of the, but the fact is, two things can be true. It is probably their most flawed team of this era, and we just have to deal with that. And you know what? If people are going to say they don't have a chance because of the run defense or the slow starts or the wide receivers, odds on, you're probably right, man. Like, the Bills probably have, what, a 10% chance to win the Super Bowl?
I would say, maybe 10 to 15, something like that,
something
right?
Like that.
10
but
to 20.
Odds on, that's, what, 85% chance that you're going to be right, man. A 6 and 7 chance you're going to be right.
Yeah,
that's the reality of the situation.
I think it's just kind of like you said, like, it's not something that's going to be fixed in 2 weeks. You're kind of live by the sword, die by the sword, man. And you just got to see if they can get it done, if they can play these teams and play their game and it works, then more power to them. And I'm rooting for that. There's not a moment I'm not rooting for this team to go to the Super Bowl. I look at the consistency of being able to play a consistent 60 minutes of football, and it doesn't jump off the page at you. There's always something that's not clicking at a certain point in the game. So, like, yes, ground yourself in realism, sure. But, like, there's never a moment I'm not going to root for this team. I'm just like, and you're right. I mean, if people who are really going in on them saying, like, this receiver room's not going to get it done, I mean, yeah, you're in the majority probably saying those things. But, like, I don't know. It's a weird spot to be in, considering that out of the godfathers of the AFC, you are the only one that remains from the past few years, right? It is a totally different looking playoff picture. And these teams are kind of coming into their own, right? Like, we watched Jacksonville go into Denver and take care of business. They won by 2 scores. Like, they're the real deal with Liam Cohen as their coach. And odds are you could be playing them at some point, right? Depending on how things shake out here down the stretch. So there's a couple more variant situations with the playoff picture, but I mean, they've done it, right? They've beaten good teams. Yes, you lost New England the first time. You go to New England the second time, and you're floundering in the first half, but then you lay it on them. So if you can do that in the playoffs, all power to you. But I mean, if it's at NRG Stadium playing the Texans, or if it's in Jacksonville where you've had a history of just not playing good games, that also plays into it a little bit. That's a little scary for me. But I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But what do you say we preview this Eagles matchup that kind of doesn't, like, actively mean anything to the playoff picture, right? Like, if New England's just going to win, like,
it
maybe
depends.
your record would be the only thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. It doesn't really matter for the AFC East too much, especially if you just think New England, which I do, was just going to straight up win out.
And I'm with you on that. But before we dive in here to the potential of the Bills-Eagles matchup, what it could be, if it even means anything for the playoff picture, we do have to take a quick time out for our sponsors. We'll be right back with more of the Buffalonia podcast right after this. Welcome back into the Buffalonian podcast. Did Bills-Browns recap in the last segment. We talked about the Sabres in the first segment. And now we're going to preview a little bit of Bills-Eagles going into the holiday. It's going to be a little bit different of a preview because we're not even going to get an injury report. The Bills did practice today, but it's all over the place because of the holiday. So everything's an absolute
No Josh
cluster.
Allen.
No Josh Allen. We do know that. McDermott yesterday called him day to day, but said he is sore and does not expect him to be unavailable for the Eagles game. So it was all clear after the X-ray, which is good. Just give him his time to rest. You know he's going to go out there and perform, right? So I mean, it's not you're not maybe a little rest would go a long way for him. We'll see, but yeah. So looking just at this matchup in general, we were talking about a little bit before what it could mean for the Bills, the playoffs. It's an NFC matchup, so it doesn't like jump off the page at you, but it is the defending Super Bowl champions who also can't seem to figure themselves out. So they're just kind of floating in an abyss. When AJ Brown actually does do well for them, they lose games, but when he doesn't do well for them, they win games. They're just an absolute enigma, if you ask me. But what do you make of this Eagles team? Like, isn't that the craziest thing? Like, just when their best players play the best, they just don't win when they're all like whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, I think they just. Honestly, I think they have a problem similar to the Bills. Is that there's a big microscope on these big teams, and sometimes they don't play well and they have head scratching results, and sometimes they play well and lose. And at the end of the day, they're trying to figure out how to peak at the right time. They've won their division. How much do they have to play for is a good question to ask, with Jalen Carter with the shoulder,
right,
and Lane Johnson with, I believe it's the foot. So do those guys play or do they rest a week? It probably seems to me that they're going to play and give them, a week to get acclimated to the football again, and then probably rest week 18 because, I mean, the Eagles are pretty much, seems to me, going to be the 3 seed in the NFC. Like the NFC West, probably Seattle is going to win that division now. And then, if Chicago, I mean, who has a hard, schedule, but, the Eagles, if they obviously win out and Chicago loses out, could hop them. But
yeah,
do the Eagles really want to pursue that, or do they want to just rest up and be like, we're going to be the 3 seed? Fine.
right. Kind of
so,
take their medicine, right, and just
yeah,
go with
especially
it.
because if they're the 3 seed, they most likely will avoid the Rams because it seems like the Rams are going to be the 5 seed. So, I mean, we'll see how much they have to play for. The Bills, how much do they truly have to play for? Again, if you think the division's kind of cooked. But at the same time, the Bills have officially now, for the 7th straight year, longest active streak in the NFL.
Yes.
Playoff spot. Old Man Rivers unfortunately going down last night.
Yeah, unfortunately. He played a hell of a game, though. I got to give him a lot of respect, and he's fun to watch right now,
A lot of respect to my man Phil. Respect to Phil. But, yeah, I do think this is an important game for the Bills. I know you kind of said, does this game really matter? I think it does, because I think if you're the Bills, you want to be the 5 seed.
Yeah, right. You don't want to be the 6 seed because you could be going to Houston at that point.
Right? Like, if they lose this week, they're probably just going to rest their guys.
Yeah.
In week 18.
You're going to see Mitch Trubisky in the red helmet. Sorry, people.
Because how much do you really care? Like, are you going to, this is what's going to be interesting, with their injuries. Like, Jordan Poyer has the hamstring. Joey Bosa didn't practice today. I don't think Daquan did. I don't know. Are they just going to give those guys 2 weeks off and say, let's just be healthy for the playoffs? Because because to me, that's more important than the 5 seed. But the 5 seed to me is at least somewhat important, because if you're the 5, you get to play Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, which is a more favorable game, especially if we're going to talk about how much we've liked Jacksonville. Like, if you are the 6, you are most likely going to either Jacksonville or Houston. Yeah. That's probably the game you will go to, because if New England wins out, they're going to be a top 2 seed, and who knows, maybe the Bills fall to 7th. I don't really see that happening, though, because I think Denver is going to play the Chargers tough in week 18. I think there's a good chance that the Chargers might lose out, and I think the Bills could still beat the Jets maybe with their backup, so they could be the 6th seed, but Houston comes in there and hops them in the tiebreaker and becomes the 5, which would suck, because then you have to play Houston if they would both get that far.
Yeah, and that's just a bad feel all around. That's
why I'm saying that this game still matters, but
no, I agree it does. That was the topic of conversation at work today, and a lot of callers called in, and they're like, just sit them for 2 weeks. This game doesn't matter. And I'm just like, I just want to see where you were at on it. I think it does. I think you should be playing for whatever you can.
I guess it matters. Like Porter with the hamstring, like that
Yeah.
seems to me like he's out. Like once I heard hamstring, I was like, all right, that's not a day-to-day injury.
And
Like
he's
he's.
been so important to your defense. Like, let
Mhm.
him rest for the playoffs
And
in
it's
all
like,
seriousness.
do I need to rush him back for a Week 18 game against the Jets?
No.
I guess to me, this game matters, and then the result of this game, like if you win,
That changes things a little bit.
clearly want to try a little bit because you want to be the 5 seed. But if you lose at that point, it's like, all right, we're not going to be the 5. Do I really care for the 6 or the 7 seed? Probably not. Let's just rest guys. It'll be interesting to see what happens to Josh. They said he's optimistic with play. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess he's going to play. He's Josh. It cares to hit Josh that he plays and continues his consecutive streak. So I think he should play. I think
maybe they'll put him out there for a snap and then let Trubisky come in. Maybe they'll just have him hand it off just to keep the streak alive for him, like they did last year. Let him nurse the injury from the sideline after the fact.
When you look specifically at the Eagles, both offensively and defensively, offensively, I just think the Eagles are kind of a strangely tough matchup on both sides of the ball for the Bills. Now, the Eagles have struggled to run the ball, so who knows? But it still feels like Saquon has that explosive element, and the Bills have given up explosive runs all year, so that's scary. And then, from a passing game perspective, Jalen Hurts is not great against zone, so I do expect the Bills to run a lot of zone. However, if the Bills do run man, like, as much as I love Christian Benford, like A.J. Brown just kills the Bills. Mm-hmm. Like every game A.J. Brown plays against the Bills, he goes for like 100 and touchdowns. So
yeah,
I think that's a tough matchup, especially if Goddard playing well at tight end too. That could be a tougher matchup, especially if Shaq Thompson can't go and Bernard is banged up. And who knows, if you have a backup, you're probably gonna have a backup safety. It's probably gonna be Cam Lewis because Hancock dipped his toe in the water, but now they're like, okay, like he kind of wasn't ready. It's gonna be Cam Lewis.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna be interesting. Then
and you have Saquon Barkley too on the
for the Bills offense, like if Carter plays, the run defense will get better, but I think you can run on the Eagles. So I think that is an advantage. I do, however, don't think the Bills have the people that really hurt the Eagles through the air. Like the Eagles, the big weakness for the Eagles is that second cornerback spot, but the Bills don't really have the outside receivers to test that.
No, and the one they do can't catch a football, so we're going to see what happens.
Cooper DeJean's one of the best slot corners in football, and that's I think he's going to shut down Khalil Shakir. So I think it'll be tough for the Bills to throw in this game. I do think they can run the Eagles, and they're going to have to play that type of game. So I'll be interested to see what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, you're talking about A.J. Brown cutting them up and everything like that, too. And the Eagles are very two-dimensional on offense. If Saquon Barkley gets going hot against this Bills run defense, like that's also another avenue they could take. Also, like the Bills offense, like you said, they're a good passing defense. So this might be a big James Cook game. I'm glad my fantasy rooting interests are over. Not like it mattered anyway last week, but I'm not rooting for Josh Allen to go out there and just light it up in the passing game. They can kind of win how they need to win, and I do think this matters. I do think they have to win this game. So it's going to be interesting to see how exactly they go about it, but they are good in zone coverage. So like I would totally be fine with the Bills playing a lot of that to try and stifle them, especially like you said against A.J. Brown, because he just has a history of slicing and dicing the Bills. But yeah, it's an interesting matchup, I guess, with the Bills and Eagles. And it's one recently that came down to the wire. I mean, Jake Elliott with that giant field goal in the rain. So, like, they've played each other tough in their recent meetings. They're not, either of them are not the same teams, but we'll see what these guys bring to the table here. I guess at the end of it all, we'll just jump right to the MVPs, just to keep this a little more brief. MVP of this game, I think it's got to be, I want to be different. I want to be exciting. I want to be whatever. It's got to be James Cook. Like, it's got to be the run game, right? You could even say Ty Johnson or Ray Davis, too. If you just want to say the running back room, I think they're going to just have to have a big game against this Eagles defense and try and make their way through. What do you think, MVP-wise?
Yeah, I think the MVP for this game is going to be Matt Milano, because I think Matt Milano has played some of his best ball this season down the stretch. I think he's going to have a big game, especially in run defense, to make the Eagles one-dimensional. And I think our guy Matt Milano gets his way into the end zone. We're coming down on maybe his last game at Highmark. Well, definitely his last game at Highmark because it's everyone's. But last game, home game in a Bills uniform. I think he gets a pick six for the fellas.
Yeah, I love it. He had a great game. He's had a couple good games now where he's been, wheeling and dealing. So hopefully he can continue that. I'd love to see him in the end zone. Big Matt Milano fan. So we'll see what happens there. Score predictions though for this one, and this is an early score prediction, just early in the week. But I do think this one's a little closer. I mean, we went out on a limb last week and said the Bills were going to blow out the Browns. That just didn't happen. So we'll see what happens here. But I think this is a field goal game, and Prater is improving, which is a good thing to hear because I mean were you watching the broadcast last week when they just totally Ian Eagle or whatever his name was? Literally says, yeah, he's released from the Colts after he missed the extra point, and then you just hear the dog on the broadcast, like, and JJ Watt's like, well, you just did that in real time. So if Prater's trending up, that makes you feel a little better, I guess. I do think
I don't know. They worked out kickers today.
Did they? So. Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah,
that kind of seems like he's out, but they don't really want Badgley. But I couldn't recognize two of the kickers' names, and the third one was Younghoe Koo, who has been really bad.
Oh no. Oh,
and also, like, I love Younghoe Koo, but I don't know, man. Like, he kicked in a dome in Atlanta. Like, this is outdoors in Buffalo. We literally saw him not even attempt to kick a field goal in a game 2 weeks ago. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we need to make a call for Rodrigo Blankenship, if you're asking me. But he's kicking at his high school field, recreating kicks on TikTok. So we'll see what happens there. Give me the Bills in this game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think it's going to be the Bills 24, Eagles 21. I mean, that's not really a lower scoring game. I mean, that's over 40 points. But, like, we're not going – the Bills aren't scoring 30 plus. I'll say that. What do you think?
I will go 27-20 Philadelphia.
Okay. Oh, you're going the opposite direction. All right.
I think there's a couple of things that factor in. One is I know for a fact, I know we're doing this Tuesday, that Josh will not be 100%.
Yeah, no.
And I think him not being able to maybe move around as well, I think really limits the Bills' ability to maybe make plays off script, which I think they would need to have against this type of pass defense. To have him run for 50, he would need to run for like 50 yards in this game, in my opinion, or have a really dangerous game with his legs. And I don't see him doing that with the playoffs being 2 weeks away. I mean, he's Josh, so who knows? I mean,
you never know.
The foot problem, I think I'm really concerned about, and I'm just a little. Again, we just don't know enough information about some of these defensive injuries, but Cam Lewis concerns me if he has to go for Poyer. Bosa, like if he's down, Daquan the calf, just the word Daquan the calf after what he dealt with earlier in the year scares me as well. So I don't know. The Bills could have their defensive line depth tested again if both those guys somehow even aren't 100%. Shaq Thompson with the neck, is he going to be back? Like that would scare me too. I just think the Bills might be a little conservative with some of these defensive injuries, and the injury to Josh concerns me enough where I think the Eagles are going to be really aggressive stopping the run, and they're going to play a lot of man coverage behind it, kind of like the Browns did. And I think they'll have a little bit more success maybe stopping James, and I think the game script could get out of hand a little bit. So I'll go the Eagles by a touchdown. But I don't know. Right.
I mean, anything could happen. You never know. Allen's foot could legitimately be fine. You know what I'm saying? We don't know, and he plays through stuff pretty well. So anything can happen. I agree with you, though. I do think he's going to have to fight through it, and I don't necessarily think he's going to be 100%. But you never know with that absolute animal. He's going to go puke himself to death in the locker room and then rip a smelling salt. He's going to be back to normal. So we'll see what happens. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast. Betting on the Bills a little bit in here as well, previewing the Eagles matchup, recap the Browns, and talk some Sabres. Happy Festivus today, by the way, for all those who celebrate, if you're fans of Seinfeld. Festivus for the rest of us. Have a happy holiday, everybody out there. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Happy Hanukkah if you celebrate that. So we'll be back next week following the wrap-up for the last edition of the Buffalonian Podcast of the calendar year. So that's going to be, we're going to be moving into 2026 before we know it. So, and the year of the birth of the new Highmark Stadium officially. So it's exciting times here in Buffalo. Hopefully the Bills can go on a little bit of a run here, and we'll be with you for all of it right here on the Buffalonian Podcast. Dom, how do we always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.